The Daleks are the most iconic enemies that the Doctor has ever faced, and ever since their first appearance in 1963, they have cemented themselves as one of the Doctor's greatest enemies. The Daleks are very much a post-war villain, as their creator Terry Nation was a child of the Second World War, and fears of a Nazi invasion and the rise of fascism that was spreading across Europe, with fears that this would eventually take over Britain as well. For over 50 years, the Daleks have made television appearances with every Doctor aside from the 8th, and today we are here to rank the stories from worst to best. Now, before we start, a few ground rules here. I'm only ranking their TV appearances, so audio adventures, the Peter Cushing movies, the stage plays, and even the adverts will not be included here. Furthermore, I'm only focusing on stories that are about them, so cameo appearances like in The Five Doctors, The Waters of Mars, The Big Bang, and The Pilot will not be counted here. Furthermore, this is all opinion based, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. Don't comment below and call me a stupid head and say I'm wrong because I did something different to a fan poll. So, sit back and enjoy all 24 Dalek stories ranked from worst to best. 24. Asylum of the Daleks. No, I didn't announce the winner by mistake. No, you haven't skipped to the end of the video where I announced the winners. This is genuinely my least favourite Dalek story. On the rare occasion I actually watched this episode, I am genuinely baffled to how a lot of these creative decisions made it to the screen. The Daleks capture the Doctor, Amy and Rory, who are going through a divorce, and plan to send them to the Dalek Asylum so they can switch off the force field so the Daleks can destroy the escaping insane Daleks, even though it's offensive for them to extinguish hatred, and even though they're too scared to enter the asylum themselves. Okay, I remember looking forward to this story so much in 2012, as Doctor Who magazine promised us a cover with every Dalek ever, but we barely saw any of these old models. Asylum of the Daleks is just so bad to me. Everything that doesn't work here is from a script level. Amy and Rory's divorce makes zero sense, and don't you dare comment below, but there was pond life. No, that doesn't count. And it's never brought up again for their entire time left on the show. While Oswin's appearance was a surprise and the twist of her being a Dalek was cool, the fact that she's able to stop the Daleks from going insane by making them forget about the Doctor makes the entire asylum concept completely pointless. This doesn't even work as a concept. The Daleks are underused, the script is bad, Amy and Rory's divorce makes no sense, and the whole thing is just head-scratchingly puzzling, but not in a good way. On a positive note, it is a very nice looking episode. The Dalek Parliament and the surface of the asylum look fantastic, but aside from that, I really can't find much to like in Asylum of the Daleks, which is why it falls to the bottom spot for me. Number 23, The Chase. This story is the only time that the Daleks appeared in the series for comedy, and when viewed from that angle, The Chase can be funny. The story is about a group of Daleks chasing the Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Vicky across time and space because they foiled their invasion of Earth a few stories earlier. It really is hard for me to sum up The Chase because, from an entertainment level, yeah, I don't hate watching this. It is funny to see how cheap and tacky it is and how insane the Daleks are in this. The Chase is consistently a comedy made on a budget of about 2p, and it is a nice experiment to see the Daleks gain personalities, as some stumble over their words, mutter, and even refuse to obey orders at some points. We also get an intriguing new race of robots with the mechanoids that are pretty impressive, even if their fight scene is just no good. The Chase ultimately depends on what mood you're in. If you want to enjoy cheap, tacky Doctor Who with some humour sprinkled in, you'll get it here, but if you want a story where the Daleks are brutal killers and the threat of them is very serious, I'd look elsewhere. Number 22, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. In all honesty, I gave this a rewatch some time ago and expected the worst. However, I was surprised and found that it wasn't entirely the case. The last 4 Daleks in existence are kidnapping humans from 1930s New York in the height of the Great Depression in the hope of rebuilding the Dalek race by imprinting them with Dalek DNA. This idea is pretty solid, but for me, the execution lets it down, particularly in the second episode. The Daleks understand that in order for a chance to survive, they must adapt and evolve. This is a pretty good idea. Sadly, the results with the Dalek-Sec hybrid are pretty lacking. The design looks too silly, and the American accent leaves much to be desired. The Hooverville setting is a nice backdrop for the story, People are unemployed and starving and desperate for work and are being exploited for cheap labour. This is pretty strong stuff and makes sense for the Daleks to involve them, because both the unemployed and the Daleks are mirror images of each other here. Both of them are desperate for survival and are working with what resources they have. Sadly, the second episode is where this story falls down for me. The Hooverville setting just gets forgotten about, as the centre of the action is then switched to the Empire State Building. The pig slaves aren't exactly creepy and feel quite pointless. If the unemployed are so desperate for work, why not just have the Daleks use them? The Doctor helping the Daleks is something I really don't buy either. The Daleks are planning to create their own new race, despite the humans never asking for it. This just seems massively out of character for the Doctor, and it's not like he's forced into this situation. He willingly goes along with it. The first episode is solid, not perfect, but good. However, the second episode is where the potential becomes squandered, and that is a shame. Overall, I can sum up this two-parter as good ideas but a lacklustre execution. Number 21, Victory of the Daleks. This is another case of a Dalek story being of two halves. Winston Churchill summons the Doctor and Amy to wartime England, where he unveils his new secret weapon, the Ironsides, which in reality are Daleks. The last of the Daleks are trying to find their purest form in a bid for survival, which results into them turning into Skittles. I mean the Paradigm Daleks. The first half of this episode is pretty strong. The cramped World War II bunkers, Ian McNeice being fantastic as Winston Churchill, and I buy him using Daleks as a weapon to win the war, and comes across as reasonable. His country is being destroyed and is desperate for his nation's survival. The Daleks are also cunning in this as well, pretending to be willing soldiers and servants. I love how quiet they are, and the way they stare at the Doctor knowing he's about to burst with rage is just great. When we get to the Dalek spaceship, however, this is when it loses its good stuff. The 5 new progenitor Daleks don't really do anything, and the story doesn't do much to justify this big changeover. Heck, this is the only TV appearance of the Orange Scientist Dalek, and I don't think we'll ever know what the Yellow Eternal Dalek even does. For a change this big, you have to give the audience something justifiable. There's no change in behaviour or philosophy to the Daleks, there's no change of strategy to become the supreme race. Now, I know, the Paradigm Daleks were written out due to fan backlash, but if they gave them a second story, or if this story was even stronger, they could have justified these changes. Like the last choice on this list, these are good ideas for the Daleks to change, but the execution is sadly squandered. Number 20. Destiny of the Daleks. If I had to sum up a fun time that I can easily watch, that would be Destiny of the Daleks. The Doctor and Romana land on Skaro, where the Daleks are hoping to dig up their creator Davros so he can help them win a war with the fabulous looking Movellans, who are both caught in a logical impasse. I think the ideas present are pretty interesting. The Daleks have become so reliant on logic that they have lost their organic roots and now need their creator to find themselves again. The problem is, the Daleks as characters are not that interesting here. All they do is shout and bark orders, there's nothing threatening about them at all. However, I really do like the scenes between the Doctor and Davros. Despite having completely different principles, they are both fascinated by the concept of two logical war machines not even making the first move against one another. David Goodison makes a good performance as Davros, despite the mask clearly not fitting him, but he is definitely trying. The Movellan costumes are gloriously 70s, but the Daleks just look really tatty. Bits look like they're falling off, the domes look scratched, and they lack a lot of screen presence. Still, the Doctor and Romana are on top form, the pacing is good, and the dialogue is really witty. I can get a lot of people not liking Destiny of the Daleks, however I still have a soft spot for it. It's flawed, but fun. Number 19. Death to the Daleks. What would happen if Daleks lacked the power to kill? Would they ally with other species? Would they become more desperate? Would they have no purpose anymore? Death to the Daleks explores this concept for a grand total of half an episode. The Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive on the planet Exelon, where the TARDIS has lost power, and encounter a group of humans looking for Perinium, the antidote for a space plague. The Daleks arrive as well, but are forced into an uneasy alliance with the Doctor as they have lost their weapons. I feel if David Whittaker was writing this story, he would have done more of the concept of Daleks being unable to kill. Terry Nation, however, just comes up with weird ways to kill the Daleks. Okay, that's cool and all, but I think my point still stands. However, for what it is, Death to the Daleks is an entertaining story that I always have a lot of fun with whenever I watch it. The highlights for me come and when the Doctor and Belial, an outsider amongst the Exelons, are exploring the city to discover its secrets. And it's good stuff. This city ain't messing around. The story rattles on at a steady pace and it never feels boring, but the biggest mistake with this story is the music. This is 100% real, by the way. Yeah, this really undermines the Dalek threat, despite the new silver and black design looking pretty impressive. Is Death to the Daleks the best story to feature the pepperpots? Definitely not, but it's an inventive and snazzy little piece that I can enjoy on a rainy afternoon. 18. The Magician's Apprentice and the Witcher's Familiar. Once again, I don't find this two-parter to be perfect, but it's one that I have a lot of fun watching. The Dr. Clara and Missy are brought to Skaro as Davros plans the Doctor's regeneration energy from him and transplant it into the Dalek race, like a hybrid. The Magician's Apprentice isn't a bad start, but a lot of it feels like 75% setup for the second episode and what's to come in Series 9, and only 25% of plot. It takes a while for this story to get going, but when it does, I find myself enjoying a lot of it. The Doctor and Davros are both on top form here. Rather than being a ranting madman, Davros feels defeated on the day he dies, and feels the need to make amends with the Doctor to justify his actions, from the one man he considers his greatest scientific rival. Both of these men are victims and survivors of the Time War, and now both of their planets are back in the sky. They show compassion for each other, but they still do their best to outwit one another, and it's compelling stuff to watch, and I think is some of the best stuff from the 12th Doctor's era. Sadly, like a lot of Davros stories, the Daleks do suffer, and they're more there for decoration rather than contributing anything meaningful to the story, but I like the callbacks to the first Dalek story where Missy and Clara have to sneak into the city using a Dalek casing, and is a nice counterbalance to the serious tone with the Doctor and Davros. This two-parter isn't perfect, but I think it's a great Davros story. The Daleks are sadly lacking, however. Number 17, Planet of the Daleks. Often labelled as a remake of the first Dalek story, and yeah, I can't deny I see that as well, but gosh darn it am I nostalgic for this story. The Doctor and land on the planet Spyridon, where they encounter a group of Thals who are on a suicide mission to destroy the Daleks to stop them from releasing an army of thousands of invisible Daleks amongst the galaxy. I first watched this when I was 11 years old on Christmas Day 2009, and I remember being so hooked by this. For 6 episodes, I think this story rattles along at a good pace, and I think it's an enjoyable yarn with a nice set of characters. The jungle sets for Spyridon look fantastic, and it really benefits from being in colour. The third Doctor is as effortlessly cool as usual, but we have a Doctor who seems to be mostly on top of things when it comes to the Daleks, which can lessen their threat a little, but they are still credible as villains. The Dalek Supreme looks awesome, but it's also a shame that we never actually see, no pun intended, the Daleks actually being invisible. They could have used this in the jungle scenes when they are hunting the Thals later in the story, but sadly we never get to experience an invisible Dalek. Despite some misgivings, Planet of the Daleks still holds a special place in my heart, and I would suggest to switch your brain off, slip into the mind of an 11-year-old watching this for the first time on Christmas Day, and I guarantee you'll have a good time. Number 16. Day of the Daleks. This was the Daleks' first appearance in colour TV, and does it make an impact? Well, yes and no. The Doctor and Jo are sent to discover ghosts in a haunted mansion who are actually human rebels from the future attempting to change the past, which leads to a series of wars that left the Earth easy for conquest. This story is interesting, how it's exploring the concept of time paradoxes and interfering with time and the Blinovitch limitation effects, fascist dictatorships, and oh yeah, the Daleks are in this as well. Now as a story, Day of the Daleks is pretty strong. The world building of the dystopian 22nd century is really good. Both the Doctor and Jo don't see the full picture of the world. The Doctor sees this as a world built on slavery, yet Jo, who spends most of her time with the human controller, sees a world where everything is productive and the Earth is being run efficiently. This is good stuff. The higher-ups may never have been happier, but the poor and misfortunate are suffering and doing all the dirty work. Kind of like a conservative Britain. Sadly, the Daleks are the least interesting part of this. They remain locked up in a cupboard just barking orders, and they don't even kill anyone till part 4. You can tell this wasn't written with the Daleks in mind, but I think everything surrounding this story is pretty good. Day of the Daleks may not represent the best day for the Daleks, but it still has a lot going for it, with everything surrounding them being the better aspects. Number 15. Resolution. The Moffat era left a lot to be desired when it came to Dalek stories. They were definitely a mixed bag, but Chibnall made the Daleks a credible threat again, I think. The 13th Doctor and Fam are summoned to Sheffield and find a creature under the town hall, which has attached itself to one of the archaeologists, as it plans to rebuild itself whilst bringing in the rest of the Dalek army to conquer the Earth. If I could sum up Resolution, it's a big blockbuster that helps kick off the new year in style, whilst looking to the past and making amends. The single Dalek is great. Even when the mutant is out of its casing, it's still a dangerous force to be reckoned with, and brings back a lot of their power. The All Sorts Dalek, I still own the rights to that name by the way, is a great one-off design, and when it mows down the army, it's just incredible. This is a force to be reckoned with and is just pure bliss to watch. The Recon Dalek feels like a fully fledged character like the Metaltron from Dalek, and it's a terrific enemy for the Doctor to face. The subplot regarding Ryan and his dad is pretty good, but it feels pretty distant from the rest of the episode. But overall, Resolution is an action-packed romp that brings the Doctor's greatest enemy into the new year with a lot of style. Number 14. Doomsday. Yes, this story is back on the list again. The Daleks are revealed to be hiding in a sphere to escape the Time War hidden in the Torchwood Institute, where 5 million Cybermen have invaded from a parallel world and the two enemies declare war on each other. The Daleks in this are the Cult of Skaro, and they are a special group of Daleks that find new ways of survival, even daring to have names. They plan to release a Genesis arc containing millions of Daleks to conquer the world. Despite sharing the screen with the Cybermen, the Daleks still get a lot of sassy lines with them, and I think it's pretty funny. The Daleks are on top form in this story, but it sadly comes at the expense of making the Cybermen look like pansies, as the fight between the two is comically one-sided to the Daleks. On an action level, I enjoy Doomsday a lot, and the Doctor's only scene with them is really good. While I think this could have been the perfect Cyberman story had the Daleks not shown up, the Daleks are still an entertaining presence in this action-packed finale. Number 13. The Evil of the Daleks. Yeah, some may be surprised that this isn't in my top 10 Dalek stories, but I don't think this is the classic that a lot of fans make it out to be. The Daleks are planning to put the Doctor's companion Jamie in an experiment where they will monitor his emotions and place what they call the human factor into the Dalek race so they will be invincible. The plot I just described doesn't even kick in until towards the end of episode 2, nearly 40 minutes into the story. This isn't a slow but methodical pace type of story, the plot just moves and meanders until the pieces of the production are finally revealed. Evil of the Daleks should have been cut down. The whole of episode 1 is completely pointless, as it's just a wild goose chase that is pure filler, and the Doctor and Jamie could have easily have been kidnapped from the beginning of episode 1. Despite this, I really do like the Daleks' plan here. The idea of them feeling emotions other than hate is a fascinating concept, and the child Daleks playing train is really cool to see, and they even become allies of the Doctor. The Emperor Dalek looks fantastic, and the Dalek Civil War is a great final end for them. The Doctor and Jamie's relationship is tested here, as you may think that the Doctor could betray his friends in order to just get his TARDIS back, but I like how he one-ups the Daleks by switching their factors around, which causes their civil war. Overall, I don't love Evil of the Daleks like I used to, but I think if it was cut down, it would have been able to show the true evil of the Daleks. Sorry, these puns are terrible, so let's just move on. Number 12, The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. This story will definitely hold a special place in my heart, as 10-year-old me watched this with great anticipation. Davros and the Daleks are planning to destroy the whole of reality using the Earth and 26 other planets to power the reality bomb. It's up to Earth's mightiest heroes that aren't the Avengers to stop the new Dalek Empire. This is the closest Doctor Who ever came to being a movie, with the Daleks being on top form throughout as they conquer the Earth with such ease and kill anyone who disobeys. They are a force to be reckoned with. The Stolen Earth is a great story for the Daleks. Sadly, with Journey's End, it gets rather overcrowded, and the Daleks do suffer a bit as the limelight switches to Davros. This isn't a bad thing, as Julian Bleach is a great Davros, but it's still disappointing. Plus, his way of getting at the Doctor seems kind of hollow. Yeah, these companions are defending themselves, Davros, and Torchwood and Sarah Jane face threats every week, so up your game a bit here. While this two-parter is jumbled and overcrowded, I can't deny how amazing the spectacle is, and the Daleks certainly help bring this to life, and from an entertainment and fan service, this finale certainly delivers. Number 11. Resurrection of the Daleks. This is easily one of, if not the darkest story to feature the Daleks in their entire history. The Doctor, Tegan and Turlough are caught in a time corridor that links to a Dalek ship and 1984 London, where the Daleks are hoping to find a cure for the Magellan virus with the help of their creator Davros. That's only one of the subplots that plague this story, as the Daleks plan to take over positions of power on Earth with duplicates, duplicate the Doctor and send him to assassinate the Time Lord High Council. Davros is planning his own needs for the Daleks. It's just non-stop. Resurrection of the Daleks is overstuffed, no doubt about it, but I think its grim tone really fits for the Fifth Doctor's final season, as he is trying to be a good man, but is being held back by his own insecurities. Davros gets a great confrontation with the Doctor, and the Daleks definitely feel like a violent force once again after the shortcomings of Destiny. Resurrection of the Daleks is a grim story, but its tone really helps it stand above other Dalek stories on this list. But with too much going on in the plot, it just misses out on being in the top 10. Number 10. The Dalek Invasion of Earth. It was inevitable after the success of the first Dalek story that there would be a rematch between the Doctor and the Daleks, and this is a worthy story. In 2164, the Daleks have subjugated Earth and have enslaved humanity to dig to the Earth's core and replace it with a mechanism that will enable them to pilot the Earth through space. Okay, the plot itself is pretty silly, but what works so well about this story is the imagery. There's brutal stabbings, drownings, and images of slavery. It is a strong story, as the Daleks look very empowering thanks to inventive camera angles and a great entrance of a Dalek coming out of the water. The invasion is conducted well thanks to some great characterization and performances from the cast. The Daleks themselves are a little bland character-wise, but they never lose their threat throughout the 6 episodes. This story also, I think, defined the Doctor's character for years to come. If you watch his earlier stories, he's very much a man who is trying to get away, but here he will dare to stop the Daleks because it's the right thing to do. With strong imagery, a dark tone, and a reliable hero, the Dalek Invasion of Earth is an iconic story for all the right reasons. Number 9. The Daleks. We're now back with the one that started it all in 1963 and ensured that Doctor Who was a runaway success. The Daleks. The Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Susan land on the planet Skaro, which has been devastated by nuclear war, and the Daleks are planning to wipe out the pacifist Thals for their own survival and to be the masters of the planet. This story, despite being a bit too long for me, is great, and there's little reason to question why the audience members were so captivated by the Daleks. The Daleks themselves are wonderfully shot in their claustrophobic city. They are devious, manipulative, and above all, scary. Just in this story alone, we get what the Daleks are all about. They are fascists and have a dislike for the unlike and cannot be reasoned with. The three regulars are on top form, the Thals are a welcome addition to the story's themes of racism and purity, and it's still a fantastic story to this day. The Daleks is a flawless introduction on how gripping and excellent its most iconic enemies are, and it's definitely earned its place on this list. Number 8. Into the Dalek. I feel this is the best Dalek story in the Moffat era, but given its competition, that's not saying much. The Doctor, Clara and a group of humans are shrunk down and inserted into a Dalek that is feeling good, and it's up to them to find out why and make the Dalek quote-unquote normal. While the idea of a good Dalek isn't entirely new, I think it's the look and feel of being inside the Dalek casing that keeps this story from feeling too unimaginative. The scenes of them exploring the Dalek casing are fantastic, and like Death to the Daleks, it's a hostile environment with danger around every single corner, which really racks up the tension. The Daleks, I feel, are on top form, as they are back to being badasses again and killing anything that gets in its way. The final line from Rusty the Dalek is really hard-hitting, and adds a lot to the Series 8 arc of the 12th Doctor trying to figure out what sort of a man he really is. If you haven't seen Into the Dalek for a while, I'd suggest giving it another rewatch, and you might be pleasantly surprised by it. It's an overlooked gem that you should dive into with lasagna. Number 7. The Daleks' Master Plan. At 12 episodes or 13, if you count Mission to the Unknown, you'd think the Daleks' Master Plan would be a long, boring slog. Well, the Fat Controller laughed. You are wrong. Uniting with a collection of bizarre aliens, the Daleks plan to conquer the universe with their ultimate weapon, the Time Destructor. The Daleks' Master Plan is the epic to end all epics. The story is treated with such gravity and seriousness, and there's a real sense of desperation to the situation that the First Doctor and Stephen have found themselves in. This story is double the length of The Chase, but unlike that story, the Daleks themselves are taken very seriously. Despite being 12 episodes, the story moves along at a very brisk pace, mainly down to the fact that we are moving from location to location in every episode. The planet Kemble, Desperus, Future Earth, Myra, 60s London, Hollywood, a volcano planet, and ancient Egypt. But so much of this material is absolute gold, with the Daleks at their most deceiving and treacherous. The threat is so real that two of our companions die in this story, Katerina and Sarah Kingdom. With a huge cast, an epic storyline, an enemy taken very seriously, topped off with Douglas Camfield's superb direction, the Daleks' master plan holds together very well that I would love to see recovered or animated one day. Number 6. The Power of the Daleks. With the first time the Doctor had changed his appearance, it's no wonder that the production team brought back an old enemy for the new Doctor to face. The newly regenerated second Doctor, with Ben and Polly, land on a colony in Vulcan where the humans living there have brought Daleks back to life, where they claim to be their loyal servants. If you were going to kickstart the show and give it a new lease of life with a new lead, then you couldn't do much better than handing the second Doctor a story as gripping as this one. David Whittaker takes Terry Nation's creations and breathes new life into them. No longer are they an army of killers, but they are formidable tacticians and psychological manipulators that prey and exploit human weaknesses until they have enough strength to slaughter all of them. The way the tension builds up throughout the 6 episodes is perfection. You can tell the Daleks hate being servants, and I like how as the story goes on their voices become harsher, and it's great to see them unleash their rage across humanity. This is a powerful backdrop for the new Doctor to establish himself again, and instantly puts the audience on common ground with a familiar enemy. The supporting cast are great, the direction is top notch, and the Daleks are on top form. It is easily one of their greatest stories. Number 5. Dalek. In the 1990s, the Daleks had become something of a joke. With Doctor Who no longer on the air, this episode had a lot to prove to bring the Daleks back for a new audience. Did it deliver? Hell yeah, it did. The Doctor and Rose are lured to Utah in 2012, where collector Henry Van Statten is housing the last Dalek in existence. This story just gets so much right. The Dalek redesign for the 21st century makes it a force to be reckoned with, and it's even a character in its own right. New audience members may not know what a Dalek is or what they stand for, and this story beautifully demonstrates this with excellent scenes of death and destruction. This Dalek is a living, thinking creature. It never fires a shot that it intends to miss. There are moments of quiet where it simply shoots down soldiers on the spot, but there are plenty of moments of it to scream in rage, like when it sees the Doctor. Eccleston is simply amazing as the Doctor. His mere presence is what sets this chain of events off, as the Dalek is hungry to kill after it sees its greatest enemy. The script by Rob Sherman is tight despite being only 45 minutes, and the direction by Joe Ahern is flawless. Dalek is a magnificent reintroduction of the Doctor's greatest enemy. Once again, they sent audience members scurrying behind the sofa. Number 4. Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. We've seen what one Dalek is capable of, but what happens when you have 500,000 of them? You get an epic series finale. The Doctor, Rose and Jack land on the game station where deadly versions of Earth game shows are played. The losing humans are sent to the Dalek spaceships where they are converted into Daleks by the Dalek Emperor who has survived the Time War. In just one scene, we are told that the Daleks are made from human remains, but Daleks are all about racial purity. They hate anything that isn't them, and this is an army that hates their own existence, and that is just terrifying. The Dalek Emperor is a magnificent looking model and a terrific villain for the 9th Doctor to face. The Daleks are on top form. They take a detour to the bottom of the game station and murder dozens of humans because they found something down there that isn't Dalek. It's so ruthless, it's so evil, but it's so Dalek. This is how you do a series finale, with recurring villains on top form, excellent performances from our 3 regulars, and excellent action. The Parting of the Ways is an amazing and dark outing from the beloved pepperpots. Number 3. Remembrance of the Daleks. For the show's 25th anniversary, the Daleks were brought back to help celebrate this momentous milestone, and this is definitely a serial worth remembering. The 7th Doctor and Ace land in 1963 England, where 2 Dalek factions are fighting for ancient Time Lord technology, the Hand of Omega, which the Doctor hid on Earth years ago. Remembrance of the Daleks is one of those stories that really is just as great as the sum of its parts, and it never sags under its length or continuity references. This story works as an action piece and a fascinating examination of the Doctor, who is hinted at to be far more than just another Time Lord. The idea of a fully fledged Dalek civil war is a fascinating concept to witness, and is realised spectacularly on screen. The Daleks are on top form, with Davros showing up as the Emperor Dalek in a memorable confrontation with the Seventh Doctor. And for the first time, Daleks are conquering their greatest enemy, the staircase. Remembrance has everything going for it: an engaging guest cast, fantastic production values, an ambitious portrayal of the Daleks, great nods to the past, exhilarating action, and a Dalek and companion who feel made for each other. 25 years into its lifespan, and Remembrance of the Daleks proves to an increasingly doubtful audience that there was still a great deal for the Daleks and Doctor Who to give. Number 2. Genesis of the Daleks. Yeah, this isn't the top spot, but just hear me out. The Doctor, Sarah Jane and Harry are sent to Skaro by the Time Lords to prevent the creation of the Daleks. Genesis of the Daleks more than lives up to its iconic status, with the introduction of Davros played superbly by Michael Wish, who is such a fantastic and complex character. For example, rather than let his own creation of the Daleks be interfered with, Davros would betray his own Khalid race to ensure that his Dalek creations live on beyond the war. The point of no return for him is the hypothetical virus situation the Doctor presents to Davros in episode 5. The power of life and death is in his hands, and he would do it. He is mad and ranting, but he can also be a scheming manipulator when he allows the Files to destroy the Khalid people, but then just has the Daleks turn on them. Davros believes that achievement comes from power that resides within the Daleks. Magnificent stuff. The direction for this story is bold and dynamic, the lighting is superb, and the music is really powerful. There's no part of Genesis of the Daleks that isn't firing on all cylinders, and its depressing tone is very hard-hitting. With an excellent supporting cast, the Doctor on top form, a complex, fully realised villain, Genesis of the Daleks reminds me of how good Doctor Who can be when everything comes together with absolute precision. Number 1. Revelation of the Daleks. Yeah, this wouldn't be a typical choice for a lot of people, and I know a lot of fans would find this controversial, but I just adore this story. The Sixth Doctor and Peri arrive on Nekros, a funeral planet where the dead are kept in suspended animation until a cure for their diseases can be found. Davros, however, has installed himself as the great healer and is using the dead humans to create a new race of Daleks. The reason I love this story so much is how it tackles both levels of the extreme. Both the extreme dark and the extreme comedy are present, and they gel together exceptionally well. It's a perverse, squalid world with fascinating characters. Each double act feels expertly crafted and is perfectly cast. I have watched Revelation more times than I can count. With Davros on top form, he revels in the madness of his own schemes and is far more than just a one-note ranting villain. Like Genesis, everything feels perfect in Revelation. The writing, the acting, the direction, the characters, the music. Revelation of the Daleks may not top a lot of best ever Dalek stories list, but in this case it certainly does for me. It's a remarkable oddity in the series that stands proudly in my top 10 favourite stories ever since I first watched it. I love this story to the moon and back. Revelation of the Daleks is one of the most unique and imaginative stories that the series has ever given us, and I can't love it even more if I tried. Well everyone, that's all from me. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how you would rank the Dalek stories, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.